What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I want to break down what's going on with the overall market and talk about something very important that's going on. I also want to break down the levels on SPY, Tesla, Nvda, and the QQQ, and talk about some very important things happening with Jerome Powell for tomorrow, and then break down how the charts are looking right now. But before I do anything like this, before I talk about all these different levels and all these different stocks, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks plus a $50 cash reward, and the offer ends in just 7 days. So check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, so anyways, looking at the market right now, we had this head and shoulders top on SPY I called out during the pre-market, and I told you all that the market was going to likely sink down, get a little popped and sink down, or something like that, or it would just start sinking as soon as we opened, and that is what happened basically. We did get this tiny pop right here. You can see SPY actually touched 445. This was like the last liquidity grab. This is when these market makers, institutions started to short up here. They popped in just a tiny bit. Then we got this huge sell-off since then. And right here, we went to 442. That continued to break down. We hit this support trend line right here, this one that's like a little bit slanted. We could see this wick formed from it, and it just continued to break down. And now we're testing like 439. And, if that breaks, the next level is going to take this thing all the way down to 438. That's going to be the full measured move. And it looks like we are looking very, very bearish right now. Now, looking at the MACD on SPY, on the 5-minute time frame, we're about to get a bearish cross. On the 30 minutes time frame, we are still looking very bearish. We're looking bearish. It's not looking very, very good for the markets. The market is trying to base around these like high 430 levels. It's trying to, but it's really struggling to hold up right now. And on the 4-hour time frame, the same thing is going on. We're about to get a bearish cross on the PPO. Right now, everything's pointing in the same direction. The market is very, very weak. Now, what's going on with the market? Why is the market selling off like this? What is actually happening? Well, one thing worth mentioning is that we had one of the Fed speakers today, Patrick Harker. They came on, I believe it was CNBC, and they said that the Fed should hold off on the further rate hikes. They were being kind of dovish, if anything. And that's very interesting because the market still sold off. But the market was not selling off because of this Fed speaker. The market's selling off because of Jerome Powell. Powell is going to be speaking, tomorrow on Friday at about 10:05 a.m. Eastern time, or about 35 minutes after the market opens. And what he says could cause a very, very big shockwave in the markets. Now, the thing about Powell is we don't know what he's going to say, so you never know what could happen. All hell could break loose. He could cause the market to start pushing up. He could cause the exact opposite. And the last time he spoke at Jackson Hole, the market dropped around 4% or more. That was because of the fact that inflation was roaring, and he said that the Fed had to be aggressive and this and that, and he was very, very hawkish. And that's why the market sold off. Now, this time around, the context is kind of different because inflation is clearly cooling off a bit. Core is still a little bit sticky, and we'll see if Powell says anything about that. But what does worry some people is what he'll say about like wage growth, the overall jobs sector, because the jobs numbers are still kind of like decent here and there. And the Fed's not really seeing this big spike in unemployment, which is what they're looking for. So it all depends on Powell. I don't know what he's going to say, and the market is quite fearful and uncertain. We're still looking more bearish at the time I'm recording this. So what levels should we be watching for on SPY? So first off, we have some resistance at 440 and also around this 441 area, just a little bit under that. And we have very, very tight levels of resistance. Now, for us to turn bullish or get a better chance for the bulls, we want to see it hold above this trend line and get all the way up to about 442 and hold that. There will be a better chance for the bulls if that's the case. And so far, we're really struggling to do that. You can see right here, it tried to get a bounce and it just failed, and it's just continuing to drop. And the next support to watch for is going to be right about here. So we're approaching 439. That's going to be the support. There's also support at 439.5, and we're currently breaking it. So if 439 breaks, the full measured move will take this thing all the way down to this low right here around this 438 level. Very low 438s could come if we keep breaking down. And it really depends on if we break below with the 439 support or not. But for now, it's looking very likely like the market has more selling. Still very, very weak. It just does not look good whatsoever for the bulls. Now, for the bears out there, if you're trying to short this, well, you kind of missed your opportunity. You had one opportunity right here, just under 441. So don't just chase after short positions. That's a lesson you'll learn when you're trying to trade. You want to be shorting at these like high levels up here. You want to be shorting for like little bounces, and during moments like that, you don't want to be shorting when it's like full on just like tanking really hard to start buying puts at the very bottom. You want to be very careful when doing anything like that. So just to be clear, SPY is looking relatively weak. We are kind of like range bound between 438 and about 440. Right now, it's actually like 439 to 440, around that entire area, but we could go all the way down to 438 if we break this low. And so far, we are still looking relatively weak. We're still not looking the best. I'm going to be just watching this very carefully. At the end of the day, the market might still see a lot of fear as we're going to be approaching the end of the day before Jerome Powell speaks tomorrow morning. So just know we're just range bound. We're looking relatively weak, and then we'll see which levels it still continues to break. It looks like it could still break down. It's looking weak so far. With the QQQ, it's basically the same thing. I mean, if you want to turn bullish on the QQQ, you need to see it get above its 200 EMA and break above 366, break and hold 366, and this thing has some potential to try to push up. We haven't been able to do that. We didn't even get close to that. We got stopped at just under 366.5, so it's still not looking too good. And we're approaching this support right here at this 363 area. If that breaks, the next major support is going to take it down to about 362.25. That's where this like little wick is, this previous resistance becoming support in the 362s. If that breaks, it's going to come all the way down to 360. So it's still looking relatively weak. We got a big drop on the QQQ. We called this out with the bearish divergence as well. So we're going to be watching this 363 zone right now. We're going to be watching how we shop around here. Do we end up holding this support? If we break the low right here, I'm going to be expecting this to come down to the 362s. And for now, it's looking like the market did the majority of the dropping. It's going to try to base around these levels. I don't think there's going to be like way more insane dropping unless something very bad happens. But it looks like the market's going to be kind of like range bound and maybe sell off a little bit more as time goes on, as we're still looking kind of weak on the triple Q. For Nvidia stock, this is not looking the best in my opinion. I mean, we got a very, very nice pop thanks to its earnings, of course. But if you look at it, now we're at this 484 area. We came all the way down to these levels that I had marked right here. So we came down to this demand zone right here, very close to this like 478 to 480 area. We broke just a little bit below it at 475 and bounced. Then we hit 490, rejected off that, and now we're just kind of like trading flat. I think Nvidia is going to be range bound between 480 and 490, going back and forth and back and forth. If you want to be bullish, you want to see it get back above 490, but we have this big gap up here, or down here, sorry, this unfilled gap around this 470 area. So we'll see if Jay Powell causes the market to drop even harder. If he does cause anything like that, we could see Nvidia come down to fill this gap. Also, there's an imbalance here technically. If not, I mean, it all depends on Powell, so we'll see what he causes. We also have an imbalance up here. So one day it's going to return to the 500s again in the future. But for now, okay, right now, we are just range bound between this 480 zone and about this 490 area, going back and forth. We spent most of the day between this range. So watch it very carefully and see which way we try to break. Right now, it's kind of just going back and forth and back and forth. If anything, on Aapl stock, also not looking too good. Aapl broke down. We were talking about this in the morning as we had this bearish divergence. Aapl broke all the way down below 178, and now it's hitting the support right here. I actually didn't mark this support, but it had this support around this 177.5 zone. We're watching this as our support, and resistance is around 178.5. It's kind of like range bound as well, but it's looking bearish still. If you look at this overall chart, it looks like it's forming another head and shoulders like pattern. It might just chop around here for some time and may start sinking even lower into like the 176 area. It has these gaps down here in the 175s and etc. So if it breaks below 177.5, there's going to be more selling. There's also a gap down here at 177 flat. It looks more bearish, and the odds do favor more downside from a technical standpoint. And we will see if Jerome Powell causes that. There's a good chance he might cause even more downside tomorrow. But just to be safe, watch this range on Aapl for now, 177.5, 178.5. We will see which way it breaks. For now, it's looking like it's just going to chop for a bit and then maybe break down. Still looking kind of weak. And if Aapl does break down, this is going to drag SPY and the QQQ down, as the technicals are still looking kind of weak. Last but not least, for Tesla, okay, Tesla's still not looking the best. It's doing a little bit better than other stocks out there, though. I will give it that. So for Tesla, we opened up very close to 240. And I warned everyone we had a bearish divergence. The market would likely sink, and this would drag Tesla down. Tesla came all the way down to about 228. That was the zone we mentioned if it broke below 230, but it managed to get right back above 230, which is a decent sign. If it held below 230, that would be a very bad sign. Tesla could have sank a lot lower, but it managed to get back above it, so that's a decent sign. Then it actually touched this area right here, this 234 to 235 zone. We had this mark right here too. It touched this and came right back down after a rejection. So we're going to be watching this range right here, this range between 230 and about this 234 to 235 zone. Watch this range. Tesla's likely going to be stuck here for some time. If it breaks below 230, watch 228, then 225.5 below that. Those are your levels to watch for. How is Tesla looking? A little bit more bearish than bullish, of course, but it's doing a little bit better than the market as it managed to hold above 230 and got a better looking bounce than SPY did. So a little bit better, than other stocks out there, but it's still looking weak overall, especially for its own standards. Now, looking at Tesla from the MACD, uh, the 5 minute is about to get a bearish cross, so it is starting to sink a bit. And then, the 30 minute never got a crossover. It is showing some signs of trying to base, but still not looking that great. So if anything, I'm going to be watching this 230 area on Tesla. It's going to be a key level. See if Tesla can try to hold this by close. If not, it's not going to be looking good for tomorrow. Now, on the bigger time frames or like the bigger picture of Tesla, still not looking that great. I mean, you could argue that there's like a head and shoulders like pattern. We have like a left shoulder here, head right here. Could we be forming like a right shoulder soon to come down? Well, the thing is, Tesla has to break and hold above these high levels temporarily for that to happen. I don't know if Tesla's going to do that, if there's even going to be some kind of like right shoulder. It's going to depend a lot on Powell at this point. And if anything, it's looking a lot weaker than before. So if Tesla breaks below 230, it all depends on Powell. If he does drag the market down, we could see a bigger rug pull going into the later days. We have these imbalances down here, of course, you have to watch for. So I just want to be open-minded. We also have these gaps that form technically on it. So if Powell causes the rug pull, then, instead of being like a, head and shoulders, this could just be like a double top rejection, a very slanted double top. And it could drag Tesla even lower. So it's not looking that good. It's forming kind of like an M shape. You guys can see it. So not looking good overall on the bigger time frames. It just depends on Powell. And we're going to be watching 230. If Tesla can try to hold 230, there's a chance it could try to base a bit. If it breaks below it, as it's starting to sink right now, not going to look good, right? It's not going to look good whatsoever. We could see it start to sink even lower below 225 or so. So watch 230 on Tesla, very important level. And with that said, like I said before, most of the charts look bearish, and we will see what happens with Powell. The market is fearful. The market is uncertain about what Powell is going to cause. So be ready, do what you have to do, and we will see what happens as time goes on. All right, so I'll see you guys in a later video. I will talk more about Jerome Powell and etc. for tomorrow. And with that said, have a great day. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Tesla the market to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.